Listen, changing the game the way that Steph Curry is, that's saying a mouthful. Because one, basketball is the most universal sport.
Yeah. Yes.
Cris Carter at 50 years old, he can still dunk, he still plays pickup basketball. He can still pretend to be Steph Curry somewhere.
Yes, absolutely.
There's no...
Haven't dunked this year, dunked in 2016.
Last year. Steph Curry.
But we can go to UCLA later on today.
LeVeon Bell, there's no place to pretend, for us to pretend to be. Now, I do think there'll be some high school kids, some junior high kids that will try to do that patient running style because it's the most unique thing I've ever seen. And tackles for loss are about to skyrocket in high school because I think he's the only guy that can do it.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, please, you go.
I think that, for one, I just retired as a high school coach. So I don't believe this is going to continue because every little league coach, middle school coach, high school coach, and college coach, like if he was playing for Nick Saban in the national, we'd be saying, put your foot in the ground, get up through the hole. Because we haven't seen anyone who could do this over a long period of time. And then every once in a while, you get blessed with a talent that's unique. Barry Sanders, like, they didn't teach him that. Well, they saw him doing that, and they said, you know something? This is pretty special. We're going to allow him to keep doing this. But we used to have a rule in Minnesota in the receiver room. The coaches used to tell them, don't watch number 80. Be careful what you listen to, because you can't do what he can do. So be careful trying to duplicate what he did. What Steph Curry is not duplicatable. And I don't think coaches are going to allow kids to run like this.
They had the conversation with Ray. Don't try to be Urlacher. Don't try to be London Fletcher.
Yes, definitely London Fletcher.
I'm gonna get on a walk on
now.
Listen, so it's really interesting, right? Because if you was around in my age when I was watching basketball and Michael Jordan era when they was playing the Indiana Pacers, you thought Reggie Miller was the best thing out shooting the basketball, right?
Yep.
So you got a better Stephen Curry who could just shoot the basketball flat out better. For Le'Veon Bell to say I'm changing the game, I need you to watch a little bit more film of Barry Sanders. Just a little bit more. Because if you'll see, you can understand what patience really is. Barry started this years ago. That's why it was so hard, without a good offensive line most of the times, right? And when you talk about his start, foot in the ground, if you go back and watch Le'Veon Bell's running style right now, which I like Le'Veon Bell, I really do, because he's patient enough. But that's why I love kids to go back and study the people who came before you. And if you study Barry Sanders very closely...
Never had Ben Roethlisberger.
He's never had that. And so this guy, man, I'm telling you, I'm sitting there a few times and I'm saying, how do you stop if you're Barry Sanders? How do you see a hole way over there and get all the way back to that before the whole defense comes back to you? And so when you're watching Le'Veon Bell, you're starting to kind of see the similar things. But I don't, I do like the kid, but when you say changing the game, that's a different style. You know what? I'm gonna give somebody you remember.
All right.
Remember Seattle Seahawks, Chris Warren?
Absolutely.
Ooh. Remember how patient Chris Warren was
that's
running the football, right?
All right, we've heard Ray's pushback, and it's great. He done gave us names. Will there be some internet backlash on
I'm the president of the Steph Curry fan club, and he did change the game, literally.
Yes. Yeah.
He rewrote the three-point record books in the NBA. This ain't the NFL is not turning from a passing league to a running league. That's just not going to happen. And Ray, I got to ask you this: if you're on the Kansas City Chiefs and you see these quotes from Le'Veon Bell, he has one playoff win. Yeah. Is this bulletin board material? I'm changing the game?
Yeah, well, I think it's bullet board material because, listen, if you watch the way he's doing, and I was trying to explain to some guys earlier, nobody on defense anymore is changing the math up front. If you watch Dominic Sue last week, everybody's catching and grabbing and looking. There's no need of looking. You take your behind and you rip your behind through that gap. Don't come back and let me come back side of you. That's the way team defense stops backs like Le'Veon Bell, is that once you penetrate, don't guess. So a lot of people, if you watched Dolphins film last week, it was 3 people in the same hole almost 4 or 5 times because they're not playing team defense. So that's why he's getting away with a lot of this right now. Kansas City, I think, will change the math.
I think also this younger generation of athletes trying to bring more light on his brand.
Yeah.
So let me pick out Steph Curry. So I think that has something to do with it.
He's going to boost his Instagram followers, right?